What are steps people can take to open the vision of those who are seeking, but also connect to those who deny common reality? So this is a question coming up all the time now in the United States, because the divisions that I was just talking about have become so severe, so literalized and demonized, that people think whoever's on the other side is not only wrong, but despicable and possibly evil. And you certainly can't talk to them. And so, assuming we're all coming from the kind of side of reality where we think that there can be common facts and there can be kind of coherent memories of mutual history, and there can be the sense of seeking and expecting to find some kind of unity. If we're coming from that side, then the problem is that I think what has happened on the other side, on the side where people have fallen into a lot of conspiracy theories and have given away their power. I mean, Donald Trump has left the office of the presidency, thank goodness, thank God, because he didn't belong there. And because he did so much damage once he had his power in his hands, but somehow people became kind of impressed with the idea that he was the right person and he had the right ideas, and his cruel and kind of heartless and lacking in total empathy and sympathy, those ways of dealing with things were the proper way to go in the midst of what are worldwide crises. And so if a person is in that spell, you could call it, of giving away their own sense of power to someone who claims to be, the strong man, and if people are caught up in conspiracy theories, I'm sorry to say, you really cannot talk to them. You cannot reach them in simple ways because they are almost by their own determination unreachable. And so then I think we're talking about somehow breaking spells. And that's a tricky thing to do. And so where I go when I'm thinking about those things, I go back to the archetypal ground. And there the idea is apocalypse is the Latin word. Apocalypsis is the Greek word for a time when things go into opposition in a very strong way, where everything becomes conflicted and where the institutions begin to rattle and collapse and everything seems to fall apart. And that we are in those times. And so I don't know that there is a clear process for reaching across to people who have really fallen under spells. The people who are uncertain, there's ways to bring them back. There's political strategies. A lot of people think if you actually start to reduce the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, if you heal people in that area, and if you can bring the economy back and people get the sense of having a meaningful job, and that maybe those things will help give a sense of stability underneath those who have been pulled by the undertow of all the wild things going on. But the people who have committed to conspiracy theories, who have committed to things that have very little rationality and perhaps very little humanity in them, that's a much harder fix. And I'm not sure exactly what you do. I want to say one really positive thing. I gave a talk recently to a group of people that study Carl Jung, and I was quoting Carl Jung, who brought up the idea of this archetype of apocalypsis, something like back in 1920 or something. And he said that from his point of view, from the archetypal ground of imagination that he was coming from, that the issue is that enough people in the world become consciously aware of this dynamic of the archetype, which is collapse and renewal. If enough people became aware of that and understood how to work with that in their own lives, then the situation changes not just for them, but it begins to change for others. So that's, to me, an interesting idea and a kind of a challenge that has some imagination and some hope in it.